Hi guys, I'm just another guy named James, and today I'm going to be talking about Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Now, I'm going to be talking about the rest of the Green Lantern and Green Arrow run by Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams. And the Denny O'Neil Neal Adams run is definitely the most iconic part of Green Lantern and Green Arrow. The Green Lantern and Green Arrow collaboration would continue with variety of other artists, but Neal Adams really brought life to Green Lantern and Green Arrow that we didn't really see again with a lot of the other artists, even though they were talented artists like Mike Grell and Alex Saviuk. They just didn't quite have that. They didn't have that life that Neal Adams really brought to the table. So, but yeah, these issues obviously are about Green Lantern and Green Arrow. They're kind of the follow-up to the Hard Traveling Heroes run that they had, where they were traveling around the country, like driving literally on a road trip with a Guardian. That was kind of the first half of the O'Neil Adams run. Now we've kind of moved into a different era where Green Lantern and Green Arrow are still going on adventures together because they're friends, but that's kind of it. There's not really a structure to the comic like there was in the road trip era. Some of these stories are incredibly iconic, and they definitely flouted a lot of comic tradition when some of them first came out. And up to this point, the whole run of Green Lantern and Green Arrow was really interesting because, in spite of being now and even as early as the 80s when these reprints came out, considered one of the most iconic comics of all time, Green Lantern and Green Arrow wasn't actually a top seller for DC. Even to the point of after the end of this story, the comic went on a five or 6 year hiatus where the comic was out of publication. Maybe 4 years. It went out of publication for some time before being brought back by Mike Grell and Denny O'Neil. And it's a very interesting comic. Obviously, your two title characters are Green Lantern and Green Arrow. This is naturally Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. So the two kind of most iconic ones. And honestly, I think that this run in general is a really good Green Arrow run, and it is a Green Lantern run, to be certain. I think Green Arrow tends to get handled better in these stories. Green Lantern struggles a lot where they kind of just make him like bland and like very subservient to to his guardians and to what he perceives as right, he's very law and order, which in a lot of these stories ends up not being the correct answer. And I think it's slightly sloppy writing for some of it to have one character always be wrong and have the other character always be right. But I do think that in the issues we're going to discuss today, that becomes less of a problem. But yeah, I do really like that. I think this run is really good. It's one of the most iconic runs in comic book history. So honestly, let's just hop right into our story, which today is going to be opening on Green Arrow as he visits Black Canary with some roses that he bought from town. But when she opens the box, a bunch of harpies come out. Green Arrow tries using tear gas on them, but it doesn't work, so the pair evacuate and the harpies disappear. Green Arrow then decides to send Green Lantern a telegram to ask for his help. But as Green Lantern is in transit, he runs into the harpies and he goes chasing after them, until he ends up in a shop in a shop of a woman called the Witch Queen, and he gets absorbed into the gem at the top of her scepter. And we see that the Witch Queen was working for an old enemy of Hal's. After Hal doesn't show up, Green Arrow and Black Canary decide to go to the flower shop, and where the roses came from. Once they arrive, Green Arrow is attacked by a group of Amazons. Black Canary then beats one of them up, and the rest of the group explains their history. How they were tricked and trapped in an alternate dimension by a little goblin guy. And the Harpies and the Amazons are able to use little diamond gems in order to temporarily escape. And then they decide that they all want to work together to beat the bad guys. The two main villains then start talking until Green Arrow comes in, stopping Sinestro from using his ring and then beating him up. Black Canary also takes down the Witch Queen. Black Canary then goes into the Witch Queen's gem to rescue Green Lantern, who is trapped in a nightmarish hellscape, being tortured by a Medusa-like woman, but Black Canary convinces her to release him, and the trio reunite. Sometime later, we see an older man and a little girl walking past a woman who kind of blows them off and is maybe a little rude. So the old guy has the little girl cripple the woman using mental psychic powers. Kind of an overreaction, not gonna lie. Then we see that Black Canary has decided to start working as a teacher, but we see that things are a little spooky, as a bunch of birds attack them, a tree falls on them, all sorts of weird stuff. So Green Lantern and Green Arrow suit up and handle things before Black Canary goes into the school. And we see that the owner of the school is a big-time hater on Green Lantern. And we also see that the old man and the little girl from earlier are at the school. So once Green Lantern and Green Arrow go back to their car, they run into Carol Ferris, an old flame of Hal's, and she explains that she was recently crippled and that her fiance is in charge of the school. But as they speak, the car that they're in crumbles into pieces, so Green Lantern has to catch everyone before he charges up his ring and has a nice heartfelt conversation with Carol. In the school, Black Canary has an unfortunate run-in with the old man, and she starts beating him up, until the little girl uses her mental powers to hurt Black Canary. And the old man takes her to the cellar and releases a bunch of wasps to attack her. Green Lantern and Green Arrow then go back into the school, and as soon as they are seen by the old man, all the students attack the heroes, and the little girl's psychic, and the little girl uses her psychic powers to stop Green Lantern from using his ring. But upon hearing Black Canary's screams, Green Arrow is able to get a shot off with the sonic arrow and disorient the little girl, allowing the heroes to go and save Black Canary. The old man and the little girl then show up, but the girl doesn't want to hurt anyone anymore. So the old man smacks her, which causes the little girl to kind of lose it and bring the whole building crumbling down on top of both of them. Outside, Green Lantern has a conversation with Carol where he confesses his secret identity as Hal Jordan, and he carries her off into the rain. Over the next month, we see Hal and Carol living their lives together, just enjoying the feelings of being in love. And soon Carol tells Hal that she's going off to the city of Piper's Dell to have her legs examined, but she wants to go alone. She doesn't want Hal there. So the next day, Hal goes over to Oliver Queen's new apartment that his ward Speedy had found, and as they chill and listen to the radio, a report comes through saying that Piper's Dell is flooding due to explosives being placed on the dam around the city. So Green Lantern comes through and saves the city, but as Green Lantern rests, the mayor of the city comes up to him and brings Hal into the city, which is full of smog and fumes. And the mayor then pins a pendant on Green Lantern's chest that gives off good smells and fresh air. But as Green Lantern tries to leave, the pendant on his chest starts sapping his willpower, and he is eventually taken down by the mayor's thugs. Before he loses consciousness, though, he sends his ring to Green Arrow. But Green Arrow doesn't notice that it's arrived in his apartment, because at the same time, Black Canary shows up for a date. Back in Piper's Dell, we see that Hal has been captured by the villain Black Hand, who had been impersonating the mayor of the city. and eventually, and the whole operation was just a trick to capture and beat Green Lantern. And eventually Carol is wheeled in, and Hal is allowed to leave Black Hand's base, but the whole city is trying to hunt him down. Back with Green Arrow, after a rough night on the town, he finally notices Hal's ring. So he suits up, charges the ring, and strikes off for the city. Hal's doing a pretty good job fighting off the people of the city until Green Arrow shoots Hal's Green Lantern ring over to him, allowing Hal to box up the civilians before he beats the Black Hand. Sometime later, we see Oliver walking through the streets until he's jumped by a gang of hoodlums, one of whom shoots him with a crossbow, leaving Ollie to crawl away to a hospital where he is bandaged up. Oliver then calls Hal, and the pair decide to track down the thugs because Oliver wants to know how they got one of his arrows, which they'd loaded into the crossbow. Soon the pair go to the basement of a sleazy apartment building where they see a kid going through extreme withdrawals, begging a dealer for a fix. And after the junkie's rejected, Green Lantern goes through and beats up the dealer, and the pair fly away with the junkie and the dealer in tow. On the way, Green Arrow questions the junkie, wanting to know where his partners in crime are. We then cut to the thug's den, where we see two of the kids are saying that they abuse drugs due to being societal outcasts, while a third remains quiet and in the shadows, until Green Lantern and Green Arrow come in and apprehend the junkies. When out of nowhere, Speedy comes out of the shadows to talk to Green Arrow, and Green Arrow just assumes that Speedy was working deep undercover. So when one of the junkies tells Oliver that he can take him to the top of the chain, Oliver once again leaves Speedy to go and take down the dealer. As the heroes fly to an airstrip where the drugs are coming in, Green Arrow very much so stiffens his stance against drugs, not only against dealers, but also against junkies, saying basically they're nerds, they're nerds and they're pansies if you're a junkie. But soon, Green Lantern and Green Arrow get a jump on the dealers, only to be knocked out by the junkies that they were traveling with. Hal and Oliver are then drugged and left behind, when all of a sudden Speedy comes by and is able to snap Hal out of it, and he's able to use his ring to lead an escape, leading to a quiet conversation in Oliver's apartment. Yuck! I feel like 200 pounds of boiled inner tube. Oh, brother, why do people use that stuff? Lantern chum, we dumped it. We lost the baddies. We lost the evidence. We were suckered by slimy junkies. Oh boy, dandy fair of crime fighters we are. If Speedy hadn't deduced that where those punks were taking us and followed, the law would have heaved us into the clink and swallowed the key. I still don't understand why people want to poison themselves with heroin, pills, the whole shit bag. Maybe I can throw some light on the reason, GL. Say a young cat has someone he respects, maybe looks up to, an older man, and say that older man leaves, chases around the country, gets involved with others and ignores his young friend. Then the guy might need a substitute for friendship. You might see it in junk. Gee, Speedy, all your tale lacks is violin music. I'm touched. My stomach is, because every time I hear a sob story, I almost lose my lunch. You're welcome to sleep on the couch, Lantern. No, I gotta get home. See you in the morning. We'll continue chasing those cruds. Right, I'll all work very hard on canning that crew. Their racket stinks and they made fools of us. Speedy, I'm going to cook up some of my special scorch your mouth chili. Can I interest you in a bowl? Oh, dear God. You are on drugs. You're really a junkie. Who else did you think I was talking about? You're a lousy junkie. No better than the rest of the groveling punks. If that's the way you see it, Arrow, go ahead and hit me. That'll make you feel better. Maybe you're right. Want to do it again? Or have you proven to yourself that you're stronger than us weaklings? Big man like you doesn't need drugs, does he? You get high on your own self-righteousness. Shut up! I'm not interested in your excuses. I'm not interested in you. Not anymore. Just get out. Don't worry. I'm going. Was it me? Did I fail the kid? I haven't paid him much attention lately. But he shouldn't need attention at his age. No, I'm innocent of blame. I've always taught him to be strong, independent, to hang tough. It's those vermin, the pushers. Well, I'll personally make them pay. And if a couple of them happen to get hurt, I won't complain. Then see Speedy's junkie friends come by and find his needle full of drugs, and they decide to shoot up. And as soon as the first one shoots, he overdoses and dies. So the other runs away. Green Lantern then decides that he is going to go back to check on Speedy to figure out why he was acting so weird. Green Lantern charges up his ring, and he finds the dead junkies in Oliver's apartment. So he goes to find Speedy. Green Arrow then goes back to the airstrip and he gets a lead to the main drug boat. Green Lantern then goes to the place where him and Green Arrow originally found the junkies, and he finds Speedy, and he brings Speedy to Black Canary so that she can help him before he goes off to find the dealers. At the dock, we see Green Arrow investigating, but once he's found, he gets beaten up before he comes face to face with the dealer. He's having a massive party on his yacht as a way to run heroin. Green Arrow is thrown into the ocean with an anchor tied around his legs, but he is able to cut the chains and swim to the surface just as Green Lantern flies overhead. So GL takes down the henchman. Green Lantern also chides Oliver for his handling of Speedy, and we cut to Black Canary and we see Speedy is struggling through withdrawal, but he's trying very, very hard to overcome his drug addiction. Soon, Green Lantern and Green Arrow track the drug dealer to his pharmaceutical business, where they beat him up. Then, as an epilogue, we see the funeral for the junkie kid who died, and where, after respects are paid, Speedy and Oliver have one last conversation. Where Speedy says, "Hello, Oliver. You might be interested in knowing that I beat my habit. I'm myself again." "Ah, good boy. Don't give me that good boy bull. I only made it with some help from my friends. Hal and Dinah were there when you turned your back on me." "Now, Roy, that's not fair." "No, I guess it isn't. You did a lot to inspire me to go cold turkey. I should show my appreciation." "Thanks." What was that for?" Call it sharing. Sharing a small piece of the pain I've just gone through these past few days. And after that, Speedy walks away, leaving to go and help his friends, who are also addicted to drugs. Our next adventure opens with Green Lantern going out and saving a bunch of people in an earthquake, but one of the civilians is hit by a bus while trying to save a little girl. that civilian being Guy Gardner, who is Earth's backup Green Lantern. But given that he has been grievously injured, the Guardians ask Hal to find a new backup. And the Guardians choose someone, and they send Hal down to talk to him. Hal lays down the job to John Stewart, and he seems into it, but he also has a pretty big chip on his shoulder. Hal and John do some field training, including saving a senator who is extremely racist, so John kind of pranks him, which Hal thinks is a misuse of power. But Hal gives John a second chance, assigning him to protect the senator. Later that night, we see someone attempt to assassinate the senator, but John doesn't go after the assassin, leaving Hal to track down the gunman. John does, however, stop a policeman from being murdered, and he puts together that both gunmen were working for the senator as the senator was trying to start a race war and become president. So John is deemed approved to stay as Earth's backup Green Lantern. We then cut to Green Arrow, who is wandering around feeling sorry for himself and wanting to make a difference in the world, which he feels like he is unable to do, being only able to address symptoms and not the actual causes of problems. Until Oliver gets a call from the mayor, who wants Oliver to replace him. Oliver then calls a bunch of his closest allies, asking for advice, and they all tell him not to do it. Green Arrow then ends up in a mob where he's hit by a little kid, who is then shot before his very eyes. Oliver runs the kid to the hospital, but the kid dies, and Oliver decides that he is going to be the mayor to try to make a lasting difference. Our next adventure starts with Green Arrow reading a newspaper about a man named Isaac, who is an environmental activist and has been staging harmless attacks in the city of Abraham. And Green Arrow likes this Isaac character's style, but Green Lantern is none too impressed. Green Lantern then flies the pair to the city, where Carol Ferris just so happens to be working on an experimental jet. Green Arrow wanders off by himself to practice his archery, but a guard comes by and confronts him, so Oliver beats him up, and as the guard walks away licking his wounds, Isaac comes out of the woods and meets Green Arrow. Inside the Ferris aircraft complex, we see that a gigantic rig is collapsing, but Green Lantern is able to catch it and shield it just before it explodes. But we learn that the collapse was certainly due to sabotage. So Green Lantern charges up his ring and he goes out to find Green Arrow, who was out in the forest with Isaac. Isaac explains his origin, how he was once a scientist, but he eventually got lung disease, which was aggravated by industrial pollution, and he was forced to live away from industry. Green Lantern then comes in and asks Isaac if he caused the almost fatal explosion at Ferris, which he admits to, with the caveat that he didn't mean to harm any people, just the machines. Green Lantern tries to arrest Isaac, but Green Arrow gasses Green Lantern, which causes Isaac to lose trust in Green Arrow and run away from him. A crew of guards then comes by and they beat up Green Arrow and Green Lantern, and they bring him to a test site. By the time they arrive, they find Isaac as he has chained himself to a plane. But instead of cutting him down or simply killing him, the mob decide to leave him there over the weekend. When Green Lantern and Green Arrow wake up, they try to fight the guards. They just also get chained up on other planes. After all of the guards leave, Green Arrow spends the next few hours breaking his chain, but by the time he frees himself, it's too late, and Isaac has died. Next morning, we learn that the guards are arrested for their actions. Hal gets his ring back, and Green Arrow gets his bow, but Hal just kind of destroys the jets in a very Green Arrow-styled move. Our final adventure opens on the streets of Star City as Green Arrow comes face to face with a criminal, but it's a trap, and the thug throws on a spotlight and blinds Green Arrow, and the rest of the thug's gang jump him. But he fights back and he's able to break the light, but the thugs brought a sniper as backup. So Oliver prepares to shoot an arrow, but a jolt of pain in his already significantly weakened arm causes it to go off course and kill the sniper, which understandably freaks Oliver out pretty bad. A little while later, Black Canary calls up Hal and asks him to meet her at Oliver's apartment. Green Lantern agrees and goes into the apartment, and he sees that all of Oliver's equipment has been trashed. But a group of kids hassling an old man outside borrows Hal's attention. But after Green Lantern takes care of the punks, Oliver's apartment explodes. Green Lantern quickly goes to work supporting the building using his power ring for just long enough for the fire crews to arrive. Black Canary then drops by, and the two decide to divide and conquer. We then cut to Oliver, who has wandered away to a monastery. Back in Star City, Black Canary has stumbled across a white supremacist group, and the Canary starts fighting them, but once Green Lantern comes in, they take care of the group, but they still haven't found Green Arrow. A little while later, Black Canary is making a phone call when a car goes crashing into her phone booth, and she's very seriously injured, so Green Lantern comes by to help, and we learn that she needs a blood transfusion. But she has a very rare blood type, but one that Green Lantern just so happens to know a match to. Green Lantern takes off searching for Oliver's monastery. But on his way, he finds a miscreant doing some looting, so he tosses him before moving on. Green Lantern then finds Green Arrow, and he tells him about Black Canary's condition, and Green Arrow agrees to go, but as they walk out, the thug from earlier gets the drop on them, knocking them both out. As they regain consciousness, Hal is tied to a pole in the middle of some quicksand, and Oliver is tied to a tree. But Ollie gets free, and he takes down the thug, and they all make it back, and they both make it back in time to save Black Canary. Okay, that is where our story today ends. That is the end of Green Lantern and Green Arrow by Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams. And honestly, they're pretty good stories. I do recommend to any comic fan that they read the whole Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams library of Green Lantern and Green Arrow. It's roughly 15 issues, not bad at all. Most libraries have it in 2 trade paperback forms. They're really good comics. The artwork is incredible. Neal Adams has these fun angles. It's a great blend of 60s of artwork of the 60s to artwork of the 80s. It's really nice. Neal Adams, for most of these issues, is inked by Dick Rodano, and he also does a great job. It's just a really well put together comic. A lot of these stories are iconic. You get a lot of I really like that we get some supervillain action in these specific issues, because that's definitely something that had been missing from the first half of Green Lantern and Green Arrow, where Green Lantern's got a pretty impressive rogues gallery, not the most iconic, but still very impressive. And you really had been missing them from a lot of the early Denny O'Neil, Neal Adams issues. So seeing Sinestro pop up, Black Hand, seeing Carol Ferris come back into Hal's life, like I did like a lot of that character work that we got for Green Lantern, or a lot of that Green Lantern world that we started to get. It's fun. Green Lantern is one of my favorite characters. Green Arrow is another one of my favorite characters. But both of them feel off but Green Lantern really does feel off in this run. I don't know what it is. He feels too subservient. It's like when Captain America is written into an X-Men comic. He kind of just becomes like this is the government type character. It's weird. The way Green Lantern's characterized in these issues. He's also really kind of useless. Like, he loses the ring, he gets knocked out in almost every issue. it's very rare to see him actually use the ring very well in this run, but still, it's a lot of fun. I think the highlight of this run in general is that 2-part drug story right in the middle. Snowbirds Don't Fly. I think that's definitely the highlight. You really get to see a lot. You see a lot of good character work from Green Arrow in that story. We see his kind of. We see a lot of the arrogance of Green Arrow in that. He completely refuses to accept any responsibility for his ward, basically his son, Speedy, falling into drugs. And he doesn't even help Speedy. Green Lantern and Black Canary are the ones who help Speedy beat his drug problem. Green Arrow does nothing for him, which is weird, because Speedy is basically his son, and Green Arrow refuses to help him. And in fact, he beats him. He just starts hitting him, and then he refuses to accept any responsibility, even though Speedy explains exactly why he's on drugs, and it's Green Arrow's fault. And I like that dynamic. I like the way that that's addressed. I really like that for the Green Arrow character, because in a lot of modern adaptations of Green Arrow, he's kind of this like. Well, I guess I'm specifically thinking of the CW show. Green Arrow's Batman, and he's like infallible. Like every decision he makes is right on a certain level. And seeing this Green Arrow, this much more human Green Arrow, this much more like socially aware, active version of Green Arrow, who's very much so likes the ideas of doing the right thing, of helping the little man, but refusing to actually do it when he knows the little man. It's interesting character work, and I do find myself enjoying it. Green Arrow in a lot of these issues is cool. He's the one who solves the problem. He's the one who beats the bad guys. It's nice. I like that in the first 2 issues, or first 3 issues, twice he does the thing where he either in one of the issues he shoots Sinestro's power ring off of his hand, and in another one he shoots Green Lantern's power ring onto his hand. I like that. I thought it was cool. It's a cool little visual repetition. But yeah, overall, these stories are definitely iconic. They're really good. I think Neal Adams' artwork really enhances Denny O'Neil's writing. Denny O'Neil's by no means a bad writer, but more often than not, I find myself getting lost in the artwork on these than I do getting lost in the writing. And for the time these were revolutionary. Green Lantern and Green Arrow started in 1970, and like comics that addressed social issues had kind of been a thing beforehand. You had the propaganda comics of the 40s, but then you had the Comics Code Authority come in the 50s, and the Comics Code really was really strict on no drugs, no nothing like that. But then you had the drug crisis of the late 60s, and it started to become a thing of, well, why are we saying no drugs instead of we should be showing kids that drugs are bad by the means of these heroes. So you had two big drug stories, being this story right here in the pages of Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and you had a 3-part drug story in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man story was notably printed without permission by the Comics Code Authority. They refused to allow it to be printed. But yeah, a lot of these like kind of more socially aware stories, while deemed to be iconic and really good now, they were not enough to save the already struggling Green Lantern comic from cancellation. So Green Lantern had been running for 75 issues. Then with issue 76, because sales had been diminishing, Green Arrow was brought on to try and liven it up. And we got a lot of really great stories from Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams' collaboration on Green Lantern and Green Arrow. But they weren't necessarily stories that sold a lot. So Green Lantern and Green Arrow met an early cancellation. And in 1971, 1972, something like that, the comic was canceled. And that's kind of where we end today. We're ending on the end of the first run of Green Lantern and Green Arrow. But the comic would eventually face revival, and then Green Lantern, and eventually Green Arrow would be dropped from the title, and Green Lantern would continue on his own for another 100 issues after Green Arrow's departure. And we got a lot of really good stories through there. And then Crisis on Infinite Earth shook everything up again. But all of that is putting the cart before the horse. So we'll end it right here for today. But yeah, if you have the ability to read these, if you have any interest in comics at all, Green Lantern and Green Arrow by Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams. 15 issues approximately, maybe 16. Very, very, very much so worth your time reading, and I would, at the end of the day, recommend them. I don't think they're the best for either character in them, but I do think they're still really good and a good piece of comic history to have read. But that's really all I've got. So I'm just another guy named James. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.